going to transition now to Marci Zaroff. She's the founder and CEO of ECOfashion Corp. She's going to be talking about the ECOrenaissance and co-creating a stylish and sexy, sustainable world. Excited to hear a little bit more, and we're going to let you just take it, Marci, and tell us all about it.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. And hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday afternoon. And great to be here. And I am going to just kick off with just a little bit about myself and then, take you into the world of the ECOrenaissance, which is the world I've been living in for the past 3+ decades, connecting the dots from food to beauty to fashion, all built on a platform of wellness, art, and business. And that really are, those are the chapters in my book that are connecting the dots of this lifestyle, this renaissance, this rebirth of humanity that's going on, that's only been further propelled by the pandemic. And, the difference between the original Renaissance and today's Renaissance really is this awakening, and that we're all a part of a collective ecosystem, right? We're all in this together globally. So we're not just connected to each other, we're also connected to our environment. We're not outside of our environment, we're part of our environment. We have a symbiotic relationship with our environment, right? Nature breathes out oxygen, which we breathe in, and we breathe out carbon, which nature breathes in. So just taking you on my journey, of course, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step, one of my favorite quotes from Lao Tzu. I started my journey in 1990, my business journey. I co-founded a school called the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. Today, it's the world's largest holistic health certification program, having certified over 150,000 people worldwide in over 150 countries around the world. From there, I coined and trademarked the term ECOfashion in 1995 when people thought I was absolutely crazy, and have spent the past 25 years pioneering the sustainable fashion movement, everything from founding and building brands like Under the Canopy, which was the first sustainable fashion and home brand in North America, which I started in 1995, all the way through to today, where I'm the CEO and founder of ECOfashion Corp, where we have 4 business verticals in our greenhouse of brands. You can see me literally in a greenhouse here at the Rodale Institute, made up of Yes and, MetaWare, which is our B2B manufacturing kind of intel inside, and then 2 brands that live on QVC, Seed to Style and Farm to Home. In between the founding of IIN and Under the Canopy and where I am today, I also co-founded a plant-based seafood brand called Good Catch. I co-founded a consulting agency called Beyond Brands, where we basically are an outsourced C-level operating team for brands across food, beauty, and fashion. So my mission has always been to revolutionize the fashion industry through education, inspiration, innovation, and collaboration. I do a lot of media work. I have my own column on Women's Wear Daily. Actually today, my next story just came out on climate change in the fashion industry. And I also am very active in The Source, which is bringing all of that story doing to life. I spend about a month a year in India, literally working with farmers and our factories. So what is the ECOrenaissance and why, right? So first of all, I don't know if you can see my screen. This is the cover of my book. You can find it on Amazon, QVC, Target, Barnes & Noble, and so on. Tagline, co-creating a stylish, sexy, and sustainable world. And it's really about, looking at where we are today and what's happening out there. And, you'd be pretty blind to not see all these touch points that are driving consumers to demand both sustainability and transparency. You have a quote from Albert Einstein that's one of my favorites, that we can't solve today's problems with the same consciousness that created them. So as business leaders, it's our opportunity really to do well by doing good in the world. I always say as an entrepreneur, I feel like a little kid in a candy store, that I get to do what I love, make a living, and change the world, addressing topics like climate change and political collapse and the pandemic and how that's affected people's lens on health and wellness. Economic degradation and social inequality and social justice issues are all front and center. And with that, you know, the premise of my book is through the lens of design, we can change the world. We have to appeal to people at a visceral level. And then, oh, by the way, we can take them down that rabbit hole once we draw them in aesthetically and say, here's the why, here's the how, here's the what. And, you know, as my mentor of over 25 years, Horst Rechelbacher, always said to me, serving others is serving ourselves. So we have to remember that as we approach design, and design with circularity, not a linear model in mind. And this is not just about the fashion industry. It doesn't matter what sector of business you're in, or even as a consumer where you have the power to vote with your dollars, right? I mean, business is one of the most powerful platforms to affect positive change in the world, right? Because we can create whatever reality we wish to see. And we can shift the paradigm of all of these industries that historically have been polluting and depleting and degrading. In fact, sustainability is no longer enough. It's about regeneration. It's about rebuilding the damage that we've done. So as the Native Americans said, it's, you know, we do not inherit this land from our ancestors. We borrow it from our children, right? So we have to think about, how do we give people products and services that they love and seek, while also making a difference to human and environmental wellness, farmer and worker welfare, and future generations. So welcome to the ECOrenaissance. Again, a rebirth and a transformation of humanity built on this premise that we're all in this together, that it's all about no compromise. It's not about sacrifice or deprivation. It's about value add, right? So this whole movement is really exciting. And, you know, so many people think it's very daunting. They think it's scary. You know, in the book, I try to meet people where they are and take them on this journey in a way that's user-friendly, where when we plant the seeds of consciousness, and it doesn't matter where they get planted, in food, in beauty, in fashion, in business, in art, it really comes down to, you know, planting the seed and watching how it evolves over time. So I have in my book, you know, some things to think about, whether that, you know, you're looking through the lens of personal or professional. You know, it's about reflecting and going back to your own source. When I talk about source to story, which is fundamental to today's, you know, supply chain and business models and, you know, the transparency model, it's very metaphoric. And it actually, you know, when you talk about this last year and a half with the pandemic, while we haven't been able to go outside as much as we would like, we've been able to go inside and really, you know, shift our priorities and reset them and look at, you know, what really matters. And this is where the organic movement and the health and wellness movements are really now, you know, seeing a whole new level of momentum based on people embracing this idea around responsibility and being authentic and connecting into that lifeline to your gut, right? That truth and that source within us, the light. You know, we're living in a modern day Star Wars to some extent right now, right? And it's about turning on the light and recognizing, you know, that it starts at the individual level and we're all a part of the change we wish to see in the world. So the problems today, obviously, you know, you've got this movement that is evolving and these younger generations that are saying, you know what, enough is enough. Business as usual is no longer sustainable. I don't want to sign up for this world that, you know, or working for a company that isn't built on purpose. You know, sustainability is front and center, unveiling the human and environmental impacts of all of these industries. You know, as I address, of course, the fashion industry, looking at climate change, waste, water use, energy use, chemical use, astronomical, the magnitude and multitude of impacts, human and environmental, in the fashion world. And then the aesthetics. It's about breaking the stigma, you know, that food that's healthy also tastes bad. That's just a stigma. You can have great tasting food that's also good for you. Same with beauty products, as my friend Horst from Aveda has taught people through, you know, the growth of his company, which was eventually acquired by Estee Lauder, is that you can have beautiful, functional, really amazing smelling products that are also built on plant-based wisdom and ancient healing traditions. And in fashion, we have to break the stigma that sustainable fashion is crunchy, frumpy, boxy, beige, boring, and can you smoke it after you wear it, which is often a quote I've asked, or a question I've often been asked, and show people that it's all about no compromise, that we lead with great design, and then, oh, by the way, it's also certified organic, circular, fair trade, ethically made, low impact dyed, and all the yummy stuff that adds value to the product, where we can address the sustainable development goals, and everybody kind of picks their battles in this world. But, we finally have a platform for us all to look at and be a part of, because if you're not a part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And fortunately today, organic is no longer this, crazy niche concept. When I started 30 years ago, everybody in the global organic industry actually knew each other. Today, $62 billion US market. 83% of American consumers are buying organic at least occasionally. And we're seeing double-digit growth rates almost consecutively for the past 20 years. Organic is good business. It's not just about, the environmental and the social, which of course is very important. And there's a lot of, great validation around that. But at the end of the day, it's bipartisan. And this is about, the trifecta: people, planet, and profit. If you want to add two more on, passion and purpose. So the pillars of the ECOrenaissance, as you look through the different spokes in the wheel of change, connecting agriculture to popular culture, the pillars of the ECOrenaissance that run across every single sector are consciousness, creativity, collaboration, community, and connection. And I would say those are the principles that define what this movement is all about. And so as you go into, art or food or wellness or beauty or fashion or business, you find how each of these tenets is actually propelling these movements further and further forward. For instance, collaboration is so key in this movement, especially in the fashion world, right? Where a lot of the innovation is at a very large scale, and we need to work together to drive change in the industry. In fact, the textile industry has made a recent commitment as a community to drive a 45% reduction in our global carbon footprint by 2030. Today, you'll see statistics that show anywhere from 4 to 10% carbon footprint, just the textile industry alone. And the higher numbers are including things like agriculture and transportation, which are very much a part of our industry. And what I like to say is 1 + 1 = 11. We have to remember that we're all stronger together than we are apart. And that's the beauty of connection and collaboration, is that reminder that, we are all in this together. So, and it goes beyond our own industries, right? When you look at the different areas out there that are all sort of transforming, and you look at food and the rise of the plant-based movement, or you look at all the NGOs now that are talking about regenerative agriculture, or, across the board, we love to collaborate at my company with brands that are speaking the same language. Maybe they are using different vehicles for transformation, because at the end of the day, as we move this movement, it really is about connecting the dots. The whole is greater than the sum of its parts. And we're all telling such similar stories using different products and services to do that. And what's driving us all forward? Well, first of all, the millennial generation has absolutely changed the game because of the internet. I didn't grow up on the internet, but my kids don't know life without it, right? They can pull the curtain back. They can ask the questions, what's in my food? Who made my clothes? How are they being made? Who's making them? Who's growing our food? And so those questions are actually leading consumers today to say, I demand answers. Transparency is part of my value equation now. It's not just about the price and the quality. It's about, where and how and why. And so blockchain technology is, one of these next frontiers that's coming to our movement. But the internet was that first catalyst to help, drive this experience economy and across all industries. And of course, especially in fashion, when you look at media and celebrity, so many of these high profile people are living this lifestyle and they're talking about it, and they no longer want to get behind brands and companies that are depleting and destroying and polluting. And that today's consumer is looking at organic and plant-based and green, and sustainable social innovation, social justice, gender equality, women's empowerment. I mean, these are all super relevant topics today. So it's not even about staying ahead anymore. It's about not being left behind. And I'm going to give you a few examples across industries. This is Alora Hardy's bamboo village in Bali. It is absolutely stunning and unbelievably inspiring. And alongside Buckminster Fuller, you never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. And it's such an important quote because it really is about thinking out of the box. And who would have thought that an entire village could be built on bamboo? But if you haven't been there yet, be sure to go visit. And then there's Burning Man. Many people have heard of Burning Man, right? Burning Man is just almost an opportunity to learn what the potential of mankind is. When you take 80,000 people and drop them in the middle of the desert where they create a community overnight and then leave no trace at the end, right? That's the whole premise, right? What we create, we can clean up and we don't leave a mess. And a week after, Burning Man is over, you would never have known there were 80,000 people living for an entire week in the middle of the desert. And I'll go quickly just to show you other examples. Musicians, films, artists, food, plant-based, organic, local. Remember, let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. So if you're a social entrepreneur in the food world today, you would be remiss not to be integrating these kinds of principles because this is the future of food. The organic movement, as I mentioned earlier, is growing at rates that far outpass the conventional rates of growth in the food world. And that's where you're seeing, the proliferation of food-based retailers. There isn't a single company out there today in the retail world, in the distribution world, or in the multinational conglomerate world that isn't out there launching, building, and buying sustainable food companies today, or they're just going to be out of the game. And beauty products, the same thing, whether you're talking about, aromatherapy and being inspired by nature, or meditation, which is now scientifically proven. We're seeing the intersection of science with spirituality and the power of yoga, which used to be more sort of esoteric and out there, but today it's about yoga off the mat. It's about lifestyle, and yoga is in every gym, of course. And remember, the ecosystem in our own gut is so important, right? So we have this almost, metaphor for what's going on in the ecosystem around us. Do we have to take care of our own state of health and well-being and feed ourselves in a healthy way, both in and on our bodies, which is why ECOfashion Corp today includes all of these brands from seed to style, farm to home, yes and MetaWear. You can see MetaWear is our B2B manufacturing arm. We try to make sustainability easy for other brands and retailers. If you're interested in anything from, merch for your company, or looking at, how your retail company can actually move in this direction, please reach out to us. We have Yes And, which is D2C. So if you're a consumer, which I'm sure you all are, check us out at joinyesand.com. And don't miss us on QVC, where I'm educating the masses on both our organic home brand and our organic apparel brand, getting out in front of 100 to 200,000 people a minute, talking about why organic and sustainable fashion is the future of fashion. And organic is just getting started. I've spoken to why, but the interconnection here, 60% of a cotton plant goes back into the food stream. So it's just all the way from that agriculture to popular culture, where consumers today are embracing it. And I'm not going to show you this film, but it shows you our manufacturing and supply chain model, which, as I mentioned, we're integrating now with blockchain technology all the way to a QR code, as we're seeing the intersection of technology, sustainability, and popular culture. And as mentioned, we're talking about, we're not just what we put in our bodies that matter, it's also what we put on our bodies, as the skin is the largest organ in our bodies and our primary organ for absorption. And if you haven't checked out the Fashion Revolution movement, please do at fashionrevolution.org. This is a consumer-driven movement that is demanding a shift in the fashion world and full transparency. If you want to take a shot of this slide, it gives you some of the statistics that are going around in the fashion world today, some of the companies that are joining the movement, and you can see how far we've come since 1995, when there were very few players talking about organic and sustainable fashion and textiles. And these are my Illuminartists in my book, all people that are leveraging their own platforms to drive change in the world. And you can be a part of that eco-renaissance as well. We're all Illuminartists at heart. And so please wear the change, eat the change, feel the change, be the change, and live the change we all wish to see. And here's how you reach me. Thank you all for being here, and enjoy the rest of this conference.
Awesome. Thanks, Marci. We really appreciate your time and being with us here today. Incredible topic, needful in our day, and certainly one that's just growing in leaps and bounds. And so it's exciting to see where everything's going. And you've been such a huge force in that area. And so we definitely appreciate your time today, coming on and being with us for the Leading Entrepreneurs Conference, and wish you all the best.
Thank you for having me. Enjoy the rest of your day. Cheers.
Thank you.